introducing our guests for the Pledge of Allegiance.
She has pledged to help clean up the school, decorate Christmas trees in the park, and has written positive affirmations for fellow students. Alexander is accompanied by his parents Megan and Lester Langford. April Owens is the principal of Bonnie E. Cole, and Beth Lane is the central office supervisor. Congratulations, young man, and what a great job in school. Your parents should be proud of you. Your parents should be very proud of you. Whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to say a little something?
What's there left to say?
I'm sorry?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Great job, Mom and Dad.
We look forward to the things that you'll achieve in the future. Thank you. Our next guest will be introduced by Marty Dean.
Let's see, is it on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Jay Johnson. He joined the staff as the associate pastor of First Baptist Church of Covington in January 2009. He provides leadership to our multi-campus ministry, congregational care ministry, worship ministry, and missions and evangelism ministry. He gives direct leadership to the prayer ministry and recovery ministry. He also serves as a volunteer coordinator for National Day of Prayer in Louisiana and serves on the Louisiana Governor's Annual Prayer Breakfast Task Force. Jay is married to Ms. Geraldine Gaspar Johnson, who is the church pianist and teaches piano. Jay and Geraldine have two sons, Grady and Jody. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you for having me tonight. I want to just also acknowledge that today, since 1952, the first Thursday of May has been declared National Day of Prayer. In 1988, it was set aside by law that it became a proclamation by our president. So that took place today in the Rose Garden of the United States in District of Columbia there at the White House. So just a great day. There's been prayer gatherings all over St. Tammany today. I've had the opportunity to be a part of many of them. Likewise, there was one at our state capitol. And just know that each and every time, many of you by name have already been prayed for by people across our parish today. So just an honor to be here today. So let's join together in prayer. Heavenly Father, we are grateful to you that we can call upon you. Lord, we thank you that our nation would pause on this day to pray. Father, to pray for unity within our nation. Father, to pray for unity within our government. Father, within our homes, within our communities. And God, I want to just thank you for the men and women that serve on behalf of the people here of St. Tammany. I pray that you would bless each one. Father, that you would pour out favor upon them. We pray for protection tonight for our law enforcement, our first responders. We thank you for each and every one of them and the labor of love that they serve day in and day out. And Lord, for this meeting tonight, in the business at hand to represent the people that make up this great parish, that you would just give guidance and wisdom every step of the way, and that all that we do, all that we say, would truly bring glory and honor to you. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for joining us tonight. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Dean?
Here.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Mr. Toledano?
Present.
Mr. Tanner?
Here.
Mr. Lorino?
Here.
Ms. Blanchard?
Present.
Mr. Groby?
Here.
Mr. Canulez?
Here.
Mr. Belisario?
Here.
Ms. O'Brien?
Here.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
Here.
Mr. Bender?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll start with the first presentation, a proclamation of the St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month. Parish President Brister.
Thank you. Come on over here by me, Kathy. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, I am happy to present this proclamation to Kathy Lampkin, our Employee of the Month. Kathy Lampkin has been the Senior Human Resources Specialist in the Human Resource Department since February of 2016. And whereas in addition to her daily duties of reconciling invoices for benefits, updating organizational charts, and handling employee relations, Kathy has diligently pursued the development of the human resources application of the new Munis system, resulting in a successful implementation. And whereas she is an integral part of the team tasked with educating and assisting our employees to complete the online health insurance open enrollment process, and you did a great job, and whereas Kathy has been instrumental in resurrecting the parish's wellness program, resulting in strong employee engagement and substantial health insurance premium reductions for the parish. And whereas Kathy takes great pride in her work, is thorough and detail-oriented, and is exceptional in her capacity as Senior Human Resources Specialist. And whereas Kathy Lampkin is an overall outstanding employee and performs her duties in an exemplary manner, she is a valued member of our team, and we thank her for her service to St. Tammany Parish. Now, I, Patricia Brister, as Parish President of St. Tammany, do hereby recognize the hard work and accomplishments of Kathy Lampkin, Employee of the Month for May 2018. And as always, I encourage all employees of St. Tammany Parish to thank her for her contributions and commitment to our parish. Thank you, Kathy, for everything you do. Take a picture. It takes them a while. We've got to get you an automatic camera.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Kathy, so much for everything you did.
Thank you.
May I go forward with the next proclamation?
Yes, I understand.
Kenneth Graham, there. Would you come up and join me, please? Kenneth? And if you have a family member, please ask her to come up too. Yeah.
We'll need some signatures to prove she was here for the school project.
Oh, great. We're happy to do that. How are you?
I'm doing
It's
great. Good to see you again. Thank you.
Kenneth was scheduled to be here, I think, last month, but because of what I'm about to tell you about Kenneth, he wasn't able to be here, so we're glad you're here tonight. And is this your daughter?
Yes, my daughter Camille.
Hi, Camille.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. Whereas Kenneth Graham began his career with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in 1994 and has served as the meteorologist in charge of the National Weather Service's New Orleans and Baton Rouge office since 2008, and whereas he has been instrumental to St. Tammany Parish government in preparation of and execution of our emergency protective measures, not only during hurricane season, but at all times of the year. And whereas Mr. Graham consistently provides parish administration with data and forecasting information to aid in critical decision-making to ensure the safety and well-being of our residents. And whereas the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has selected Mr. Graham to serve as the director of the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida. And whereas while we will certainly miss Mr. Graham's familiar presence in our emergency operations protocol, we could not be more proud and pleased to have him serve in this most fitting leadership role. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as parish president, do hereby congratulate and commend Kenneth Graham. He has a great new responsibility. Thank you, Kenneth, for all you've done for us
Thank you
throughout
so
the
much.
year.
It's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you so
If
much.
you'd like to say anything.
I'd like to thank everybody.
Sure.
Just real quick, I definitely wanted to thank St. Tammany Parish, just so many close friends here. And raising the kids, is just wonderful. And I was hoping April Owings could come back from Bonnie Nicole because I wanted to thank her personally because the kids are a product of Bonnie Nicole and turning out very nice. So that's a good thing. But I want to say thank you. A close friend, Dexter Ricardo, your emergency manager. Just it's interesting how when you go through disasters, you become very tight, you become very close, and just become a lot more than a professional relationship, just a close friend back there. So you got a good one in Dexter. But thank you to the council. We may be going to Miami, but I can tell you a part of my heart will always be here in St. Tammany Parish. This is an amazing place, and I've been all over the country. This is a great place. Everyone should be real proud of all the things that are going on here in St. Tammany. So thank you all very much. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. That's quite an honor for Kenneth, and I think for us, too.
Hold on.
So
Madam
he's-
President, there are two councilmen who would like to make comments.
Oh,
I'm gonna
sure,
let them-
certainly.
Mr. Lorino?
Mr. Graham, can you come back up for 1 second, sir? I just want to personally thank you from my previous profession for all the work that you have done for the Mississippi River, state of Louisiana, and for helping us keep people safe on the river. It was a great pleasure working with you, and I want to wish you the best, and I know you do a great job there, so thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Grovey?
Mr. Graham, I want to let you know that now that you have this position, you do realize you have to meet the rest of us at Pat O'Brien's for your first hurricane.
That's right.
Good luck.
Everybody says they'll see me on TV. I say, you don't want to see me on TV. You really don't. I mean, those are bad things. Those are bad things.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Now there's an extra special proclamation that I am so proud to give. And I would ask our Justin and your wife to please come up. Justin Nail. So tonight, we want to honor someone that is a real hero. Whereas law enforcement officers, without hesitation, go above and beyond the call of duty and place their lives on the line every day to protect and serve our community and our nation. And whereas Deputy Justin Nail is among those officers and has devoted his life to serving St. Tammany Parish and our great country by serving as deputy for the St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office for 13 years, as well as serving 8 years in Operations Iraq Freedom and Enduring Freedom with the U.S. Navy. And whereas Deputy Nail has always gone above and beyond in his efforts to help our communities most needy, often volunteering his time and personal resources to provide a little something extra to those going without. And whereas in the early morning hours of Easter Sunday, April 1st, 2018, Deputy Nail, along with fellow officers, entered into a high-speed pursuit of an armed and dangerous suspect, and that resulted in shots being fired, and Deputy Nail was seriously wounded in the abdomen. And whereas Deputy Nail was rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery and continues to heal and recover from his injuries. And whereas Deputy Nail is commended for his steadfast dedication and devotion to service and is a true, not only St. Tammany hero, but an American hero. We wish him a full and speedy recovery. Now, therefore, I, Patricia Brister, as president of St. Tammany Parish, for bravery and in the line of duty, do hereby congratulate and commend Sheriff Deputy Justin Nail. And I encourage all our citizens of St. Tammany to thank him for his bravery and unwavering service to our community. Justin, thank you so much. Let me just add one more thing before the picture. There is a blood drive Thursday at 10:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the 26th Street entrance of the Justice Center in Covington for Justin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
You come in, I'm sorry.
Jessica.
Jessica and Justin, stand by your husband. There you go. Thank you so much.
Not big on using my words. Thank you all for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to continue to serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you. You good.
Thank you, Madam President. We go to appointments. Under item number 1, a resolution to appoint Eva Merrifield and Janice O'Berry to replace Brittany Simons, who resigned, and Breck Davis, who resigned, of St. Tammany Parish Recreation District 7. Mr. Tanner.
So move.
Second by Mr. Thompson. I have Mr. Tanner and Stefanczyk in the queue. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All right. Seeing nobody or no one in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, a resolution to appoint Thomas T.J. Smith to replace Jake Groby, who resigned on the St. Tammany Parish Communication District Number 1. Mr. Stefanczyk.
So move.
And a second by Mr. Bellisario. Seeing no one in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
The following items have been asked to be polled. Item number, for ordinances for introduction, item number 9, ordinance 5984. Item number 10, which is 5985. Okay. Under resolutions. Yeah, do we have all of them? Okay. Resolutions C-4979, item number 2, C-4980. Item number 12, C-4990. Item 15, C-4993. Item 19, C-4997. Also, item 20, C-4998, item 21, C-4999. Mr. Dean, is there any other item? Mr. Fitzgerald?
No.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Teledano?
No, thank you.
Mr. Tanner?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Lorino?
No.
Mr. Groby?
Madam Chair, was item 12 pulled? I couldn't hear clearly.
Under resolutions, under resolution, item 12, C-4990 was pulled.
All right, item 16, pull that, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item 16 and And that's under resolutions, Mr. Groby?
Yes,
Okay, so that's C-4994. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct?
thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Canulet?
None.
Mr. Bellisario?
Done.
Ms. O'Brien?
No, thank you.
Mr. Safavic?
Nothing.
Mr. Bender?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Under resolutions, item 7C, CS number C-4985.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just making sure that's C-4985.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other matters, Mr. Bender?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Smith?
None.
I just want to make sure. Mr. Loreno, I believe there's some Mr. Loreno, I believe there's some additional items to be pulled.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to pull resolution CS number 4986.
Okay. That's item number 8 under resolution, C-4986.
Item number 9, C-S number C-4987.
Okay.
Number 10 under resolutions, C-4988.
Okay.
Number 11 under resolutions, C-4989.
Okay. I think we have 13.
Oh,
Yep.
I'm sorry. C-4991, number 13.
Okay.
Number 14, C-4992.
All right.
And that should be it,
Yeah.
Madam Chairman.
We have Mr. Bellisario pulled number 15, and I believe Mr. Garby pulled number 16. Okay? Mr.
Move to
Mr.
adopt the
Stefanczyk?
consent calendar, what's left of it.
Yes, sir. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by one vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. Please vote. I need a motion, I'm sorry. Well, I have the motion, and then I need the second. Mr. Canulet. Seeing, and Mr. Teledano, you are in the queue. Is there a particular? Okay, but no discussion. Seeing no council member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, so that brings us first to item number 9, 5984. Under items for introduction. Ms. Long? You want to move it to the, so you, oh, I'm sorry, let me go. Mr. Tanner, is there a motion you'd like to make?
I'd like to make a motion to move it to send it to the Finance Committee next month.
Okay. Second. And that's seconded by Mr. Teledano. Seeing no council member in the queue, no further discussion, please vote. Oh, you do, Mr. TJ, wait, hold on, Mr. TJ wasn't in the queue, but he'd like to.
Hold on.
Can we go back? All right. Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes. Not in reference to the comments on District 6, but as it relates to the Fund number 019, Economic Development Fund, with staff, if they could kind of elaborate on that for me a little bit, to amend the budget to decrease revenues 555 for CEA with the St. Tammany Parish Development District. that's the newly developed district, the newly formed district, and we don't normally see the CEAs before they're put together, I don't believe, do we? We do? Is it in here?
No, as a resolution. You usually do it this way, and then when the CEA is done, after the fact.
Right. So can you just kind of give us a little bit of information about
You want to?
what that CEA is about?
Is it, am I on? I'm sorry. Yes. This is with the, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's the funding that we had in our Economic Development Department that with the Development District. Now, all of our development, economic development will be done by the Economic Development District, the newly formed Economic Development District. And that's, the funding will go there.
Okay.
Is that the ask?
I think so. So those funds that we were receiving for that department that we had
Yes.
would now be transferred to the St. Tammany Economic Development District.
Yes, that was our agreement, that we would not have a department if, when they went out to interview for a new economic development director at the new district, everybody was going to work through that district instead of having our own department.
Right. So this first set of money, the 55,000 there, I believe, that's just one portion of what's going to be coming, or is just a one-time?
It's on one time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, it is, Mr. Bender, I believe, would like to speak.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairperson. Just a question. Now, this is only regarding the current 2018 budget, correct? That this ordinance for introduction.
One we just talked about?
This,
Excuse me, we're in 2018.
yeah. Excuse me?
Excuse me.
Oh, Councilman Bender, I was going to tell you that this ordinance for introduction is our final amendment to the 2017 budget.
Thank you.
And,
But what I'm saying is this is not going to continue every year. It's a washing out of that 2017 amount.
Is this, are you speaking of that, just that one item?
Yes.
Or that was just a one-time
Okay.
amount of
Thank you.
money going there at this, yeah.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Tanner, I believe that procedurally we need to go back and we need a motion to introduce and then a second, and then you can make your motion to move it to finance.
So moved.
And then I need Mr.
Second.
Loreno, second. All right, so now we have already our motion. Do we need to redo it?
I move to refer it to the Finance Committee, and that's, we're going to start having a Finance Committee every Thursday or every Wednesday but after agenda review. So that'll be the time to discuss these amendments and ordinances that we want to know about so that we can know what you're talking about when we get to the meeting. Not have the discussion like we just had with Leslie and what have you.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Toledano made the second. I see no other council member in the queue. No further discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay. All right, that brings us to item number 10, which is 5985. An ordinance to amend the 2018 operating budget amendment number 4, unless it's missing.
I move to introduce and refer to the Finance Committee.
Okay. Mr. Thompson, second. And then we have a motion to, I guess we can do it all in one. And then the second for that, I heard Mr. Canulette, I believe. Okay. Seeing no council member in the queue, no further discussion, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
All right, So I believe that brings us to resolutions. Oh, we have, is this on the resolution that's coming? Okay, yeah. All right, so we have resolution, it's item number 1, resolution CS number C-4979, a resolution granting approval to Fire District number 4 to call and hold an election to authorize the levy and collection of a $75 parcel fee. Mr. Lorino, would you, I've turned you.
Okay.
Would you like to invite Chief Moore to do his presentation?
Yes, Chief Moore, if you could come up, and I know you made the presentation to the agenda review chair. She'll give you some time on that. I don't think we'll be able to go as far as you did at agenda review. But as we go along, I have a bunch of questions to you, and quite familiar with the whole issue. And,
Yes.
So if you don't mind, sir, would you please get started? And you have the floor.
All right, thank you. Madam Chairman, council members, thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight.
Okay.
Most of you have seen this presentation before. I've made some changes into it that hopefully would answer some questions that had come up the previous time that I was here before y'all. I'll wait and give them a chance to get passed out so people can follow along with me, and I'll try to move fairly quick.
Please go, Chief, and
Okay.
because they can catch up.
Okay, that's mine. You need some more? I'm sorry. Huh? And for those of you who were on the committee meeting last week, I apologize for you having to go through this again, but I think it's important. There may have been some points missed that I would like to, if anybody has any questions. And I'll try to move quick. Fire District 4 is here before you tonight to request the permission to go before the voters and ask for a $75 parcel fee. The purpose of this parcel fee is to build 2 new fire stations, equip it, and staff it. This has come along. We've had the same 4 stations. One of them is 53 years old now, and the other one's 30 years old. And so there's not been any improvements in the facilities in that length of time as far as location and being able to get where we need to get. The traffic issues, the growth in the area, and the overall increase in call volume has made it unable for us to provide the same level of service to all the citizens of Fire District 4. There's a national standard that's not created by me. It's a National Fire Protection Standard, 1710, that sets 5 minutes and 20 seconds as the response for the first vehicle to get on scene from the time they get the call till the time that we arrive on scene. And so because of all those other issues, we're not able to meet that. So that's part of the reason I'm before you tonight. The next page, page 3, is a fire timeline. And this is very important to the point that I'm trying to make to everybody. And it basically, across the bottom, it gives you minutes and time, and across the other axis, it gives you the property destruction and the opportunity to save lives. As you can see, there's a direct correlation between the 5 minutes and 20 seconds and the development of the fire. If we can get there before 5 minutes and 20 seconds, we have a good opportunity to save lives and to minimize the damage to basically one broom, if all the factors are going our way. But as you can see, Anything beyond 9 minutes, 9 to 10 minutes, the odds of saving anybody or any piece of the property is just about nil to none. And that's our concern. We have some areas in our territory right now that we can't make that except in 9 to 10 minutes. The next page, page 4, is a direct correlation. It is on heart attacks and stroke timeline. Across the bottom is in time and minutes for getting help. The other axis is the percent chance of success. And as you can see there, when you hit the 5-minute and 20-second mark, you've got about a 50% chance of survival. Those are good odds. I'll take them any day if I can get somebody there. And that's part of the issue also. If you're the one that's having the house fire, you're the one that's standing there having the heart attack or watching somebody, it's not a pleasant sight. And I can tell you, and I challenge you to go home tonight, take your watch, take your clock, and just sit there silently for 5 minutes and 20 seconds, knowing that you could have somebody there. And then sit there for the rest of the time till the 10-minute mark hits. And I'm telling you, it's going to seem like forever. Imagine if you had a heart attack or if you had your house on fire, how you would feel. There are 3 basic areas that we're having issues with. These are not new issues, I can tell you that. The Rating Bureau has started back in 2002 telling us we needed to add stations. In 2008, they increased it to 3 stations. And it wasn't done for whatever reasons at that point. I can't respond to that, but I can tell you I've got to live with it today, and it's my job to make sure that we do what we need to do for the citizens of Fire District 4. The first area is west on Highway 22 in the area of Beauchene to the river. We can't meet our response times in Beauchene. We can't meet our response times going out 22 to the river. The other area is up 190 around Lakeview Hospital, and these are recommendations that have been made. Both of these 2 are recommendations that have been made by the Rating Bureau in the past. The next page shows, and I'm sorry for as small as it is, I've got a larger map here if anybody would like to see it, shows the green dots show our response times where they can be met. The red dots show where we cannot meet that 5-minute and 20-second response time. And you'll see that the areas that I'm talking about directly correlate with the places that I'm telling you that we're looking at needing to add. The one thing I can tell you is that it took a long time. All this data doesn't just jump on your desk. It takes a long time to collect all this data and get all the information that you need to make an informed business decision. I take very seriously the fiduciary responsibility that I have to the taxpayers, and I also take very serious my responsibility as fire chief, and I guarantee you every firefighter in Fire District 4 takes that just as serious, saving lives and protecting property. That's what we're here for. The next page, page 7, basically shows you a graph of the population growth in Fire District 4's area. Since Katrina, we've gone from 45,000 to we're almost 60,000 now, 58,000, based on the St. Tammany Parish GIS personnel. On the next page, page 8, shows our call volume. It's a chart. Again, goes from about 3,600 calls to this year we had 6,233 calls. One of the problems that we've got in that being the case is we have one station, station 42, right there at the intersection of 190 and 22, that is making over 50% of our calls. And so that being the case, they've got a heavy workload, but every time they have to go out of the station and we get another call in that area, we're having to pull resources from other areas to cover for it. The next page, real quick, just shows you the statistical data of St. Tammany Parish, where the population is in this parish. And as you can see in the blue area, which covers our district, Covington, Slidell, has 71.37% of the population of St. Tammany Parish. And at this time, it's well over 250,000 people. The next page, I won't spend a lot of time on, but it is very important. It's population density and how it affects your call responses. As you can see, Fire District 4 has 74.59 square miles, with a population in 2016 of 55,000 people. But look at the density, 744 people per square mile in our district. And if you'll look at the chart, the more densely populated that an area is, the more calls you're going to have. There's a direct correlation. And to make my point about that, the direct correlation, I ask you to look at Covington Fire Department. They have a population of 7,500 people. They cover 6.26 square miles. And they had 1,634 responses. Now look at Fire District 7. It's almost same population, 7,142 people. Look at the square miles, 175.28 square miles. Almost as big as District 1. They had 665 calls. They had a population density of 40.75 people per square mile. Where Covington, in 6 square miles, has a population density of 1,205.59. So they got twice as many calls, 3 times as many calls, nowhere near the land, but the population's almost the same. And if you look at Fire District 4, we have the second highest density in the parish. So that's an important point. On page 11, I'm sorry.
Chief, we actually gave you double the time that we normally would as a professional courtesy. I'm going to give you one more minute to conclude. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions, and you'll be able to cover more information. Right now, we have one citizen that would like to comment, so after you speak your minute, we'll invite the citizen up for his comments, and then the council, we'll bring it back to the council, and I'm sure there'll be questions going back and forth.
Sure. Thank you. It basically shows our millage. We gave back a mill back in 2012. We were at 27 mills. We gave a mill back to 26, and the impact to the budget was almost $1 million. The next page, page 12, shows you our existing stations and what's been done to make them fit. We're fitting 3 trucks in stations that were designed for 1. The parcel fee request of $75 will be used to fund the bonds of $6 million to build 2 new stations, the equipment for those stations, and the cost of personnel. Our ultimate goal is to provide the same level of service to all tax-paying residents of Fire District 4 by improving our response times to help save lives and property in those crucial first 5 minutes. The parcel fee is expected to bring in approximately $1.5 million. And the next 2 pages show you exactly where the money is being spent.
Thank you, sir. And we'll be inviting you back to the mic in just one moment.
Thank you so much.
I have one card from Mr. Mitchell Kristen, I believe. You'd like to come to the podium? And if I recall, sir, I think the last time you came to the podium, you were very vocal and maybe even used a curse word. So I'd ask you to...
No, I did not.
Okay,
nope,
well, I just would like to maintain civility, sir, and we're more than willing to listen to your comments. Thank you.
I think the problem that Mr. Moore is trying to address, and you're probably not going to believe this, so I don't want to hear it, is that the council and the parish government caused this problem. It's called overdevelopment. If you can't service the people that's being, with all the developments going on, don't give out the permits. I did some homework. There's enough money in the system, but it's not being allocated right. This is from 2014. Mr. Fitzmore recently told the council that $23 million in tax revenue has been added since he took office in January 2013. Properties that weren't on the tax rolls were added, and nearly 300 ineligible homestead exemptions were removed, he said. Additional 98.5% of the tax revenue owed to the parish was collected this year, more than ever before. He said, I feel pretty good about the direction we're going in. So with my multiplication, 5 times $23 million, that comes to $111 million. I'd like to know where that money is at. That money should be allocated to these firemen over here who protect our lives. You're not answering the call when you give the overdeveloping. That's the problem. I live on 22. I don't leave my house till 10 o'clock in the morning because the traffic's backed up from Walgreens all the way to the bridge. That's unacceptable over here. There is no more quality of life on 22. You created it. The parish president created it because she's bowing to developers and she's not answering to the people who pay the taxes. That's not fair. We also pay the 6th highest millage rates in the state. #1 cost of living. We pay four the highest millages for our schools in the state of Louisiana. We pay higher millages than Jefferson, Plaquemine, Orleans, and St. Bernard parishes. If you're going to develop it, you're going to have to service it. Take care of the firemen. One day you're going to need them.
Thank you, sir. Okay. We have a number of people, yeah, you just clear, right here, so clear. Okay. We have a number of people in the queue. I believe that Ms. O'Brien is first. And Chief Moore, I don't know, they may have discussions, but you're welcome to come back to the podium. I'm sure it's going to go back and forth. Ms. O'Brien?
Okay, thank you. You know, obviously, the law requires Chief to get our permission to have this placed on the ballot. If I was him, I would be doing the exact same thing. He's taken a look at response times in different areas, and he knows that he cannot provide the same service to everybody in that fire district. You know, in Mandeville, in my district in 2010, there were 16,281 people living there. That's 2 years before I came to the parish council. That's just District 10. That's not counting Mike Lorino's district, Riker Dano's district, or a large portion of Jake Groby's district. That's a lot of people there. And very respectfully, I want to ask my colleagues to give all of those people the right to make the decision as to whether or not they do want to improve their service. Do I know if they're going to vote yes or no? I have no idea. But just ethically, I believe that it's the citizens who would be receiving these services should be the ones to make that decision. And I'm going to tell you, I live in Mandeville, and I believe our residents are smart, informed, involved, and can easily make the proper decision for what's best for our area. All 4 of us who represent these people are in favor of our constituents having the right to make this decision, having the right to vote. One of the reasons I'm pretty passionate about this is because of what happened to my own father. My father had a stroke and did not get medical attention in timely fashion. And he is not here today because of it. And I think that my constituents and the other constituents in Mandeville have the right to make a decision about what type of services they want available. If they don't want it, they'll vote no. Personally, I think it's an ethical and even a moral thing to allow the people who will pay the bills and receive the services to be the ones to make the decision about what type of services they want provided by that fire district. And I respectfully ask my colleagues to give the citizens who would be paying the bills the right to make that decision.
Mr. Gerby. Oh, wait, hold on. Did you turn?
Sorry. Thank you. When I attended your board meeting about 2 weeks ago, myself, Maureen, and Mr. Reichert was there. You gave a good presentation, and then what surprised me, delightfully, I suppose, was your auditor got up and gave their annual audit report. And I can tell you from being a councilman for 6 years, not many audits have no recommendations. Your audit was 100% clean. Not a single finding had to be addressed. And the ones that were from the year before, you had addressed those satisfactorily and it wasn't a problem anymore. But in talking to you and looking at the map that night, you had a bigger blow-up map. One of the things that I was a little bit shocked was, and you explained it why, was your response time's a little bit longer in Beauchene because you have to drive all the way over to the main entrance and then come all the way back over to the west side of it theoretically. The homeowners association hasn't decided to open up that side with the, like a main drive.
Right.
And I didn't realize that was as big a problem as it was until you explained it. And that's probably not the only subdivision that is a controlled gate entrance where you have to go out of your way to get back into it. Based on everything y'all explained, I have no problem supporting it to let the people decide. They're the ones that have to wait for you, like you said, 5 or 10 minutes. So you have my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Taladano.
Thank you. Chief, I have one question.
Did he press?
Thank you very much again. Chief, just if you would explain to me, and I think all of us here tonight, why are you bringing this up at this time, the timetable that you found yourself caught in, if you could, please?
Well, it's like I said, I came here in 2014, and the data was not readily available to me. So it took a while to put the data together, to collect the data, and to look at all, and to clean up all the financials so I'd know where we stood financially. But just as soon as I was comfortable with that, we put a plan together. Unfortunately, it just coincided with the parishes going before the voters, and out of respect and courtesy, I pulled it, and we just waited our turn.
Thank you. I would like to suggest this to my fellow members. Myself, Mr. Lorino, and Maureen met extensively with Chief Moore and some of his administrative staff. I cannot tell you, Chief Moore, how impressed I was by your diligence, by the diligence of the members of your group who have done the necessary research to prove, certainly to me, and I think to the other people I've called off, that there is more than ample justification for this parcel fee. And what I would suggest to our brother members and sisters in this group is that to take the right away from those people in District 4 to not decide this issue is, I think, very unfair, and it's not really our position to do that. And I liken it to suppose we would have decided, some other government body would have said to us, we cannot have put our tax back, put it back on the ballot the last time. I think all of us would be deeply offended by that. But the will of the people controlled, and we lost the tax. And I would suggest to everybody at this table that the fair thing is to allow the will of the people to control. I certainly endorse the opportunity for you to have this before the people, Chief, and I appreciate the way you have done it and how professional you've been. Thank you very much.
And I thank you for all your support and being open to listen and look at the books and do what we need to do to get that support. I greatly appreciate it.
Mr. Lorino, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You got to turn it off.
All right. I'm used to just talking to you. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Chief Moore, Chief Latino. And please thank your firemen for including me in their very informative Citizens Academy last month. I hope Fire District 4 will consider it at least once a year or maybe more frequently, because it opens everyone's eyes to what a fireman, not the chief, not the assistant chief, but a fireman.
Where the rubber meets the road.
Yes, sir. And what he does to go up the line. I think that is vitally important. And I just want to say thank you on that. Chief, I know these renewals and posture fees concerns must be addressed. The issue is critical to the residents. I'm going to repeat that. This is very key. The residents of District 4. Not one person outside of District 4, if District 4 chooses to approve this, will pay 1 nickel. I do have some questions and a final comment on this issue. So what I'd like to do, Madam Chairman, is the chief couldn't finish, so I have some questions I'd like to go ahead and ask and move down the line. And I'm going to scratch through some of them as we go, Chief. But
All right.
Chief Moore, can you share your primary concern for residents of Fire District 4 as the situation stands today?
As it stands today, as I've told you, and the maps clearly show it, we can't meet our response times. It is Fire District 4's responsibility. It is ultimately my responsibility to make sure that every citizen of Fire District 4 gets the same level of service. I'm the one that's got to go home and sleep and know that I did everything I could do. And it's not fair to the citizens. It's not fair to the firemen, the firefighters who put their life on the line every single day to have to make these calls and not be able to provide the level of service that they know that they need to deliver. And this is going forward. I have to tell you, if we don't do this, we're going to be facing bigger issues going forward as we get rated.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, can you explain the significance of the 5-minute and 20-second time frame? I think you really did already, but the bottom line is, if you can get there by that time, you can help with the fire structure if there's a fire.
We can probably contain it to one room.
Okay, but more, and that's very important.
And save lives.
Right, that's very important. But more importantly, if there's a heart attack or a stroke, and if you can get there in 5 minutes and 20 seconds, you can help that person have a better chance of survival.
Without a doubt.
And that's a statistic that's been looked at over a period of time, not just here in St. Tammany Parish?
No, sir. All the charts that I gave you were done by the Academy of Emergency Medicine and by NFPA and NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Training. And so these are national standards. This is nothing that Fire District 4 came up with. This is nothing that Chief Moore came up with. This is national standards.
Thank you. Chief, how has the population growth in Fire District 4 impacted your ability to provide acceptable levels of service and response?
Well, I think, with all due respect to the gentleman that was just up here, and for those of you that had to drive up here from Mandeville to here, just getting here, the traffic is absolutely terrible. And like I said, as the density grows, so does our call volume. And so between the call volume going up, the traffic getting worse, and it's just become to a point to where it's unacceptable.
You know, Chief, you, parish government and council, also have to look at when you have an increase in population, excuse me, an increase in population, that brings an increase in revenue.
It does.
Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
How have you handled that?
Well, I can tell you, also with the growth over time, I mean, you can look at the consumer index. There was a time where we paid $250,000 for a fire truck. Today, you can't buy one for less than $600,000 to $800,000. And so, as the cost of everything has gone up, look at healthcare benefits. Look at employee costs. Everything has gone up. So even though the population has grown, so has the cost of doing business.
Okay. Chief, you had in your, I don't know if you went over it, but you had in your presentation collections. And I'm just assuming you're speaking about the sheriff collecting your millage and the future parcel fee, if it would be put to the voters and if they would approve it?
That's correct.
Okay.
There's a fee charge to collect.
This is something that's very important for many issues, and I think for many people sitting up here, my colleagues. How are the requirements for manning our fire stations determined? Is it a fire district decision?
Well, the national standard calls for 4 firefighters on every engine and 5 people on every ladder truck. We can't afford to do that. We absolutely can't. So we run 3 personnel on each apparatus. But it's just a matter of the cost of doing business, but we also have to run more vehicles on the road to get the right amount of people there to do what needs to be done on the scene.
So I would assume, Chief, that it's not a parish recommendation.
No, sir.
It's a state, federal regulation?
It's a national standard done by NFPA.
And as of right now, today, you're not even meeting that standard?
No, sir.
Okay. Does Fire District 4 handle all incoming emergency calls, or do private contractors take any of those calls? Because you do have an EMS, I'm very well aware of.
We run ALS transport. We handle all emergent calls in our fire district. Acadian handles all non-emergent transports, like to a doctor's office or something like that.
So Acadia does not come in if there's a heart attack, stroke, broken arm, a fall. As of right now, you're able to do it with District 4 equipment, but the only issue is getting there on time.
That's correct.
Okay. Chief, can you describe well, you did already, so I'm going to just touch on this very briefly. Your audit. You know, I'm very happy that you had such a great audit, and that's good, but that's not the exception. I spoke to a councilman, and he made a very, very good point that is stuck in my head. He said, that should be the norm.
It should.
That should be the norm for you and other fire districts in St. Tammany Parish.
That's what we strive for every day.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to say thank you, but don't pat your back on. Don't pat your back too hard, because I expect to see the same thing next year.
As do I, and that's what the community deserves.
Okay. Chief, would you explain to me, this is another question that was posed to me by a councilman, the fund balance that you have. Mm-hmm. Would you please go into that in detail as much as you can, because that was not covered, and that's a very important point to the members of this council.
Sure. At the end of 2017, after all that, the revenue and liabilities were taken out, we had $5,770,365 in cash. $1,017,000 of that has to be pulled back over to put into 2018 revenue because it came in December of 2017. So it had to show up in the books as 2017 revenue, even though it was for 2018. And when we set the budget, we counted on that $1 million and $7,017,000 for the 2018 budget. All we're waiting on is to amend the budget to move that money back, because if we don't, then this year's budget is going to be $1 million short. So that makes up $1 million of it. The other $4,753,000 is our contingency fund. It's generally accepted practices. Matter of fact, it's absolutely vital, especially in our business, that we keep 3 months' worth of operating cost available to us, especially like going into hurricane season here. I have to tell you, in 2004 or 5, when Hurricane Katrina hit, anybody that had anything to do with the fire service, and I'm sure the parish, can tell you that Fire District 4 was within days of running completely out of money. The staff at that time was trying to take out personal loans just to make payroll. We never want to be in that situation. Everybody knows how long it takes to get FEMA money back. And you know you're not going to get it all back. So going into hurricane season, if you don't have 3 months worth of expenditures stashed away, you're going to have problems. And so it is just good fiscal business. I'm a businessman at heart. I consider myself, and there's not a firefighter I've got that won't tell you when I came here, I said, I've got a $14 million business to run. So don't look for me to be your best friend. I'm here to do business, and we're going to do it the right way. We're going to clean up our own house. We're going to do whatever needs to be done, and that's what we've done. And they've been very supportive of me and everything the goals that I've set for us, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Chief, you had another issue. I'm sorry. Okay. Chief, I wanted to ask you about FEMA money. You had a loan from FEMA, and you paid that back. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We had a $1.5 million loan that was deferred for several years and then paid off over a 10-year period. Matter of fact, in 2015, the year after I got here, we made the last payment.
I'm just going to make a couple of more statements, and I'll be finished, Chief. Would you be willing to review your millage every year, and I think you should, to see if you are receiving any extra revenue coming in by population growth, to be willing to roll back your millage?
I look at it every year.
Okay.
That's part of doing business.
Great.
I'm not here to make money. I'm here to provide a service.
Perfect. Chief, I'm going to just go through one scenario that is very important to me, why I'm going to support this so wholeheartedly. And part of my district is from Highway 190 down to Chifuncta River, which is in that terrible area of Highway 22 that the gentleman was speaking about, and he was absolutely correct. But I have a subdivision in Lake called Del Oaks, and if someone has a fire in Del Oaks and you have to bring that truck today, as we sit here today, can you make your response time in that 5 minutes and 20 seconds to get to Del Oaks?
I can absolutely tell you without a doubt, no. We can't even meet Beauchene. Okay. It's a mile and a half from our station to Beauchene's, just the entrance. It's 3 miles just to the entrance of Del Oaks. So there's absolutely no way. It's impossible.
So the same scenario would apply to a person that is having a heart attack or stroke. You will not be able to get there today. in 5 minutes and 20 seconds.
That's correct. We can.
If this parcel fee would pass this council tonight and then go to the voters, and it passed the voters, you would build a station in between where that station's at now and the area that I'm speaking with. Would you be able to make that time then?
Yes, sir. We're looking halfway between that station and the river, which would put us not far from that area. Matter of fact, about a quarter mile.
Chief, I just, Madam Chairman, I'm sorry it took so long, but this is a very important issue to my district and to everyone else, and I just want to say thank you, and I'll have a closing statement. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Dean. Wait, you need to press it. You should.
Is it on?
Mhm.
All right. I'm going to have questions and a closing statement, then some more questions, and then another closing statement if I could. And then at the end, I'm going to summarize it all, and then we'll talk again.
There's no point in having rules.
No.
However y'all would like to do it tonight.
I got a couple of questions and a statement, too. First of all, this has nothing to do with how I'm going to vote, but I got a couple of questions. I know that a lot of fire districts, if not all, began the EMS service for money, to be able to supplement some whatever income that they need. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Okay. So you just did it because?
I can tell you and I started the EMS service in where I came from before I came here, and the people here had already started it, and well before a lot of people in the country. But I'm going to tell you, in both cases, I can speak without a shadow of a doubt, the subject of money never came up. Let me tell you why we did. And then I can turn around and tell you why they did in District 4. When you're a firefighter and you are trained to do CPR, give basic first aid, and somebody's having a heart attack, and you're having to do CPR, and you work, and you work, and you work, and you work, waiting on an ambulance to get there to transport somebody and to transfer care. And sir, I can tell you, because I can speak from the heart here. It is for the love of saving people, not about money.
I believe you. And I just heard that before we were talking. I believe it was Fire District 12 and others, that it was a good supplemental income, and I think it was specifically from Fire District 12. But anyway, I wanted to, if it just in 2 or 3 words, please. If your EMS service went away right now, could or would Acadian's ambulance, who is the ambulance service for the parish, could or would they come in and pick it up?
I can't speak for what Acadian would do. All I can tell you is that I know there's a lot of areas right now that Acadian can't meet their response times.
I got you.
And so,
well, and they're a private business, so they could buy more ambulances and hire stuff. Anyway, I guess where I'm getting to is that, do you cause your own problem? You're saying that you're not meeting your response time, but then if you didn't have your ambulance service and just stuck to fire department or firefighting, then would you be able to meet that time
that's
for
not going to
firefighting?
get it. No, sir, that's not going to get us there any faster.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the citizens of Fire District 4 are very blessed, because those people who are on that ambulance, if they're not on a call, guess where they are? They're fighting fire.
I hear you. And I represent District 1, and I know I feel your pain about the traffic. The only thing, just one other thing, and like I said, all this has nothing to do. I just really want to kind of drill down into some of the other stuff that's going on. At some point, and I know this is an unpopular topic, but at some point, this parish is going to have to confront the consolidation issue of the fire districts. We just are. Because how do we know, and this is a rhetorical question, so please don't feel like you got to answer it. How do we know that if we didn't have one fire district for the whole parish, or two, you know, one east, one west, whatever, however we want to split it up. How do we know that you would even need to do that? How do we know that somebody in Madisonville couldn't catch Del Oaks or whatever? And I'm just kind of speaking, but at some point, I don't know if it's going to be while I'm on the council or whatever. I remember way back when Covington and Fire District 12 were discussing merging, and and again, like I said, I realize this is all unpopular what I'm getting ready to say, but it became more of a, you know, if I'm captain in Covington, then how can I be captain in Fire District 12? So I don't want to be, I don't want to merge. Well, it's not about these little fiefdoms or whatever. It's about, as you say, saving lives and doing what you need to do. So at some point, and I just want to take this opportunity to address that, we're going to have to seriously look at it. And everybody, I mean, God knows there would be plenty enough jobs for everybody who's employed there, in my opinion. So that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Mr. Stefanczyk? You need to press the button. Once I release the button, I know we're all having problems with that tonight. When I give you the mic, you still have to touch the button.
I'm just glad I don't have to.
Chief, and I haven't seen the thing that you're going forth onto the ballot with, but what is the definition of a parcel?
A subdivided piece of land that's on the tax rolls.
And that's the way it's set up in there?
Yes, sir.
So that if you have a hotel motel, it's only a 1 unit versus 40?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well,
by law, that's our only option.
No, there's other ways of doing it, and they can do it, but that's why I'm wanting to know what your definition is, and that's a good definition of it. Thank you. You know, I talked to the American Ambulance Association today. I didn't talk to the National Firefighters on 1710. I didn't know that was out there, but the American Ambulance Service doesn't have a standard time to meet. They'll give you average times from across the country, and what they will give you, just so you know, is in a place like St. Tammany, they'll estimate in certain areas what the time frame should be. And I think we have used that. I've sat on the QA panel for several years. Marty has, Chris Canulet has, and we set up ranges to say, if you're going to live in this area, the time frame that you're going to get an ambulance is such. And if you live here, it's going to be something else. And if you live here, it's going to be something else. And generally, we look at that as 8 minutes. You know, they look at it as 8 minutes for an urban area. I think it's 10 to 12 minutes for 13 to 15 minutes for a suburban area and over 20 minutes for a rural area. Now, I don't know whether you're talking about what's over there is rural. It's probably mostly suburban or semi-urban. But, and I understand trying to make 5 minutes and 20 seconds might be good for fire, it might even be good for medical. Then I hear you say we can't make it, you know, in the time frames. And if a firefighter gets there, he's starting to give, I think this was your words, he's starting to give some support to the medical side. If you've got an ambulance stationed at every one of your firehouses, and I assume you do.
I do.
Okay, why wouldn't the ambulance be there at the same time or ahead of a fire truck?
For the same reason that I expressed in my presentation, we've got one station that's making 48% of our calls, 48%. So when they're out, when that ambulance is out on a call, and there's another one in that area, that's why.
So do your ambulances respond to medical? I'm sorry, the ambulances, the fire trucks respond to medical calls?
Yes, they do.
So if they're out firefighting,
somebody from the ambulance ought to be there with that, so you're calling from another station.
Well, if it's an ambulance call, we're gonna have to send one from another station.
But-
If it's a fire call, they're gonna sit there, they're gonna catch it.
So your fire trucks don't go to medical situations?
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do?
They
Well,
do.
Then if you've got a fire truck and an ambulance sitting at the station and they both go on that call, unless one of them gets released, then, and the call becomes, it's downgraded from a priority 1 to a priority 3 or something, seems to me that they would get there at the same time. And I know, I don't quite understand that. And if they don't both get there at the same time, then you would have to call another station and they would send out both a fire truck and an ambulance to service that medical situation.
They would.
Okay? So, and then I can understand when you get strung out that way. Now, you do have a backup, and you know it, or you should know it. I think you have an agreement with Acadian that says if you can't meet a call time or something, you can call them and they will come in. And that's a mutual understanding agreement that I'm sure you have it with them, because I was there when it was developed. So, and it's developed with every fire district in this parish that runs an ambulance service. They've done that. And to answer somebody's question down there, and I'm not trying to drive you out of the ambulance business, but I'm going to tell you, Acadian will pick up any of the ambulance service in this parish and stage it probably as well as any fire group could ever stage for it. So, and they're willing to do that, at least from all the times we've met with them and talked with them and worked with them. And just so you know, you made a statement that they don't have any standards. Yes, they do. We have a quality assurance panel that sets those standards, and that quality assurance panel has doctors from each one of the emergency rooms on it, council people, and so on. And those standards are set up and they're measured basically every month. What they do is they have to meet those time limits within 90% of the time, and that's what basically the American Ambulance Association has said we should do. So I'm looking at all this and saying, okay, if you need another fire station or two, I might understand that. But I also look at, and I didn't get your 2017 audit, but this is the breakdown of your 2016 audit. I do have a copy of all your fund balances and everything since 2004. And I probably disagree a little bit with your numbers, because we seen at the end of, at least at 2016, there was a $7,482,000 fund balance. And taking everything out that needs to be out of there, because the fund balance is really about $17 million. By the time you take all your liabilities out on that, it drops down by about $10 million. And I would think that if you have some of that, you could get by with less of a fee than $75. And I don't like fees, and I told you that a week ago Wednesday. I don't like parcel fees. If you really want to go out for ad valorem taxes and do it, I support those kind of things, but I don't see us getting into the parcel fee business. And what's happening is more and more of the fire districts are coming in asking for parcel fees. And it started in our fire district, and there's, and there are going to be more of them, but that's just because of the way things are going, that's what you're going to end up doing. I still don't like parcel fees. I will support the millage resolution on here, but I will not support the parcel fee. Thank you. I think that's all the questions and comments.
Mr. Belisario.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a couple of questions. I've got the same financial spread that Steve has, because I made the request to Don Henderson. The one thing that stood out to me right off the bat is there are no capital expenditures from 2004 through 2013, which was stunning to me. It tells me you got a lot of old equipment.
Got a lot of what?
Old equipment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's only from then to, if you look at 14 through 16, you've got a couple hundred thousand, about 1.5 $3 million spent in the 3 years. When I looked at your fund balance, what I call the availables after your financial commitments from your balance sheet, you went from a little over 7.4 million down to 5.7. So you weighed in 1.7 million in 2017. And when I look at that 5.7 that's left over, about, if you look at 3 months of working capital, you're looking at about $3.6 million. And that's the prudent management thing to do, to hold out of that 5.7. So what you're looking at is, to me, what is free cash that's available for two things that I always look at in a fund balance. One is capital. I don't believe people should walk around and not have a 5-year capital plan to look at when you have to spend the equipment. And when I seen this, it was stunning to me that there was no capital for those number of years. What I wanted to know is how much money do you have to spend in 2018, aside from the 2 stations and all that list, for the $6 million?
For
2018.
For the purpose of capital improvement?
Yes.
About $800,000 right this minute.
Okay. Now, what have
Today.
you set aside for what I call emergency planning?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's an incident, a significant issue, you're going to ramp up and have to spend money of that fund balance. Has your fire district ever set aside a dollar value amount based on planning so that you know you hold that because the time's going to come, you can roll it straight through and hold it, so when an incident does come up, you don't have to worry about going to a bank to borrow money. You've got that money set aside.
That's what that $4 million I said was.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Chief, I want to thank you for an excellent presentation. That doesn't occur without being prepared. So
thank you.
I would like to acknowledge the fact that I believe that you are very well prepared. Let me say one thing, Chief, so that you and I'm assuming the firefighters, most of these gentlemen and ladies are members of your fire district?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that everybody can understand where my questions will be. I'm the councilman for Council District 12, okay? I live in the middle, right about the middle of my council district. And so the middle of your fire district is about 30 miles away from my house, okay? Which means that in not being on agenda review, I didn't get to hear your presentation. I knew we were going to be hearing it tonight, which means that what I knew coming into this meeting was not a lot. Therefore, I came in with a very, very open mind. So you can be rest assured that I have not made a decision and still haven't made a decision in listening to this process. Because of where I'm located, and I'm not one of the 4 council districts, okay? My knowledge of you and your department is not very specific. My knowledge of fire over about a 20-year period is manageable for me, okay?
Yes, sir.
So I understand what you're discussing in the business approach. I'm a businessman, retired, so I understand, okay? My point is I have an open mind. I do want to say a few things, Chief. Number one, and I think that as you go forward, I'm not telling you what to do, but I think if you put together this presentation for the people in your fire district, you're at least giving them a good lay of the land, okay? On parcel fees, I understand what everybody has said. I understand the support. I understand what Mr. Stefancic just said, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you this as a precursor to what I'm going to say. Council District 12 during Katrina, and I was the parish councilman for that district, okay? I had about 80% of my homes and businesses in my council district flooded, okay? To the point of most of them many, many, many of the homes could not be lived in, including mine. It took me over a year, okay, to get back into my home. And because of the time it takes to clean it out, you know,
Yes.
put everything out on the curb, and then have a general contractor or someone come in and start the spraying process for mold, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's a long process.
It is. And what I saw was, and I supported it, I supported it in my homeowners meetings at the time. What I saw is that not only Fire District 1, but especially Fire District 1, Fire District 1 took a pretty big hit because the assessor correctly said, these houses are not livable right now.
Right.
And mine was 14 months from the time it was hit to the time I came back in, okay? So therefore, our ad valorem assessment was lowered.
Dropped considerably.
Not livable. Therefore, we have a lack of funding for all public entities that we pay property tax on. But the ones that were hurt the most, the ones that were very specific to my and other council districts around me, which were also severely flooded. One of those was Fire District 1. I supported at that time a $39 parcel fee. We went around our homeowners meetings and the homeowners passed it because it's a good emergency usage fee. It is.
It is.
Because it's not depending upon that type of an emergency. It stays in place.
It's diversified funding.
Exactly. Okay. Now, let me tell you what I don't like, just for the record. Okay.
Sure.
And I don't want you to take this as I'm going to vote no. I'm not telling you that.
Right.
But I got the microphone, so I'm going to use it a little bit, Madam Chairperson. What I don't like, Chief, and I think you understand this. Okay. $1 million home will pay, in this case, $75 or $39 in Fire District 1, and a $200,000 home will pay $75 or $39. I don't like that, okay? I understand it's part and parcel of a parcel fee, but I don't like it, okay? That's why I prefer ad valorem tax. It's a fair-based tax, okay? That's a preference. But let's also say there's a good use for a parcel fee, which I just mentioned in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I also don't like a 20,000 square foot business that is office and warehouse is paying $75 versus a $200,000 or $300,000 home, which is paying $75. That's what I don't like about it, okay? Now, what I will tell you, though, is here's the reverse side of, and right now we're discussing your parcel fee. That's what's before us.
Yes, sir.
The reverse side is that there's no question that what I've learned tonight from you is, in your presentation, is that I know your fire district, because I know our parish, is in the middle of an area that has at times serious congestion, which in and of itself is not your fault, but it does restrict the time that you can arrive, okay?
Yes, sir.
That's also not the citizens' fault. It's part of growth. And when I was on the Slidell City Council, somebody asked me, can you stop people from moving over here? And I'm like, this is the truth. And I kind of nicely said, can we put a gate on the twin span? Is that what you're saying? And when should we let the last person come in? That's the problem, and you get revenue from it, but you also get other issues with it. And we try to deal with these things in all areas of government. So I understand you've got a response time issue. And that certainly weighs on me very, very heavily in terms of people's health, people's, not quality of life, people's ability to continue to live, not the total destruction of a home, but getting there to save lives. The home can be rebuilt.
Absolutely.
Don't want it to have to be completely rebuilt, but that's my point, okay? So, Chief, let me ask you this question. And I do agree with the 3-month operating balance, okay? And you're close based upon what we've heard. Did you all think about, when you chose the parcel fee route, did you and your board consider a millage route?
I can tell you that there was a lot of conversations between myself and the board members, the community members, the homeowner associations, the local other politicians, and the board was unanimous in their decision not to go for, our fire board was unanimous in the decision not to go for a millage increase.
Okay. Chief, this is my last comment, and thank you for that explanation and answering my question. The reason I don't have more questions for you is because your presentation was so doggone good, okay?
Well, thank you.
Yes, but I did want to make a few points because I'm not going to see you guys very often, okay? I'm 30 miles away. But tonight, I have a difficult decision to make. My view is, I believe that I am going to support the parcel fee. But I want to say this, and I want this to be understood, and I'm not preaching, okay? But this is our opportunity to discuss, because we have many fire districts, as Councilman Dean pointed out.
Right.
The use of parcel fees, I believe, needs to only be for that emergency hurricane-type event, okay? Where we're talking about a disruption to our millage, and a disruption for more than a year. In some cases, from Katrina, 2 years, 3 years, okay?
Absolutely.
That's, in my opinion, what a parcel fee is good to be used for, okay? I hope that all the fire districts revert to ad valorem as we move forward. But I personally can't deny this in my vote because you built such a good case about congestion, response time, the ability to get to people, save lives primarily, property secondarily. So I will be supporting it, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Canulet.
Hey, that was a very good presentation, Chief. Fairly appreciated it.
Thank you, sir.
Quite a bit. I just have a couple questions for you, and I'm not the money guys. These two are the money guys. I'm the fire guy from Norco for 37 years. So just a couple quick questions. What do you think your medical calls are to fire calls a year? Percentage, ain't got to be perfect.
Ratio?
90, yeah, 90, 10, 10%, 90%.
It's probably 65, 35, 70, 70, 30.
Okay. And you said you have had some delays in y'all's times because of the traffic and other things that have come up. What kind of time are you talking about? Are you talking about 5-minute delays, 10-minute delays, 2-minute delays? It ain't got to be perfect. Just kind of round it out if you can.
Well, I wish I could, but as you well know, it depends on so many factors, such as what time of day it is.
Right.
What day of the week it is. I mean, there's so many factors that go into that. I can't really tell you exactly, but I'll be glad to share with anybody my huge, large map so you can see where we've never made it.
Right.
There are areas where we just never made it.
Yeah, and I don't think you're having 15-minute calls. I mean, taking you 15 minutes to get there on medical.
No.
I'd be really surprised at that.
No, 9 or 10 minutes is probably our
Okay,
tops.
that's cool. And this has been going on declining, what, last 3-4 years, probably, safe to say?
I can only speak since 2014.
Okay,
Yeah.
so since 2014, we've been falling behind the curve, according
Yes,
to
sir.
y'all, huh? Okay. So let me say this. For years, when Steve started the sole provider, I ended up taking it over, and we really came a long way. We got all the doctors together, the hospitals together. They got a standard care that they all follow now. Everyone has to follow it. We're in trauma now. We're in level 1 trauma. We weren't in that before. We have access to helicopters. We have access to airplanes. We have access to a lot of stuff that the fire districts just don't have the money and the ability to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but what I do want to say is this. And I want to offer this to you. If you're truly falling off on your times and you're that concerned, we can get together and we can work something out and get some ambulances staged in your district to help you and your people until this millage is resolved or passes or fails. Either one, I don't really care. What I care about is the care of your people. This doesn't cost your people anything unless they have to use them. It's free.
Yeah, we know we've got that available to us.
So I'm glad you do, because if it's, into the 9-10 minute, I would really like to see y'all try to take advantage of that.
And it is reciprocal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've worked with the QA board for a long, long time and had a great relationship with all y'all. Not all the fire districts, but pretty much most of them. 4 and 1 I've had pretty good runs with. But I just want to put that out there. If y'all feel the need that y'all need some help, and it's slipped, please let us know so we can get y'all the help y'all need to make sure everybody's safe. And I'm going to support it, Chief.
Thank you.
Great job.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and you too, Chief, for a very informative presentation that you put together here for us tonight. And I find in it, though, just to begin, that's one thing that I didn't see, and maybe I overlooked it, and you can help me there, okay? I didn't see where you had collected any data that shows during the course of your existence how many either fire calls or medical calls that you have made and the results of those calls. For instance, how many people that you can attribute to having saved through some life support assistance that you've given, or how many structures that you've been able to save out of the number of calls that you've received. Also, if you even have any way of collecting that data. Because in many cases, from my limited knowledge of fire protection and emergency medical services, I can only go by what I see.
Right.
And many times I see a lot of structures that by the time you guys leave, they're in worse shape than they were when you got there. No pun on yours, okay? But I didn't see that in your report, and it is a good report, unless I just missed it.
No, it's not in there. That data is really hard to draw on, and for so many reasons. Because once we drop somebody off at the ER, I mean, we don't track what happens to them after that. So that kind of data is really hard to come up with. And I hate to run this comparison, but it's like, how many fires did your fire prevention group stop from having? The data is just almost impossible to gather.
Thank you. Additionally to that, I also listened at some of my colleagues' comments about, parcel fees versus ad valorem taxes, and I must admit to you that I'm not a proponent of parcel fees either, because it takes the people who have to pay them out of the equation on the front end, just as tax incentive financing the fees do as well. Districts that people don't have an opportunity to vote in on the front end,
Right.
But in this case, you will give them an opportunity on the back end. But when I looked at the last page of your report, page 16.
Yes, sir.
And it talks about where the money's being spent, and I think this is broken down, but there's a large portion of it dealing with employees, new employees, as I appreciate it, 18 of them. 3, and 9, would that be new employees?
The 9 firefighters, yes, would be. The others would be basically, 3, 6, 9, 18 employees.
And out of that 18, when I look at the district fire chiefs, with a total of $360,000 for 3 of them, we're talking about an average salary of about $120,000 a year.
Well, now I understand that's salary, benefits, everything accumulated, healthcare cost, everything.
That was my next question. It is going to include
that's
salary and benefits.
That's salary and benefits, the total package of what that's going to cost.
As with the next 3
Retirement
also.
system and everything else.
Your captains at about $75,000 a year, 70 and 60,000, consequently. And finally, I've heard some comments also as relates to the residents of Fire District 4 being given an opportunity to weigh in on this question as to whether or not they want to pay the cost for this extra service. And I think it is a real good service.
We're very proud of it. We want to continue to make it the best.
And I would like to think that, only the residents of Fire District 4 will be the only people paying for this, but unfortunately, that's not the case. In a more expanded view of that, and this is not so much directed at you because I don't think you brought it up, but because there may be some other people. This gentleman who lives 30 miles away now, he may decide he wants to live in Beauchene one day. So the people who don't live there now in Fire District 4, those who coming behind us, they'll have to pay it as well once it's put in place.
Yes, sir.
And so, and I appreciate, the ones who are there having to make that decision, on maybe need to make that decision, but I just wanted to make that point that it's not just limited to those folks who are there now, just like those of us who are here today. We're paying some things that some other people decided on much earlier. The last piece I wanted to point out was, and I think my colleague asked about it earlier, the parcel fee will be levied on developed as well as undeveloped parcels?
On developed property.
Developed
anything that's got a structure on it.
So it's going to be on all parcels,
Right.
whether they're developed or not?
Right. If it's got a structure on it.
Oh, okay, developed properties.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Lorne, there's Mr. Bender also in the queue.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and get started. I'm just trying to get by Mr. Dean down there, and I'll make this very fast for him, okay? And also, as my good colleague, Mr. Bender, says, it'll only take me a minute. But my closing statement, Madam Chairman, and Madam Chairman and fellow members of the council, first of all, I want to say thank you, because this is a little bit over my 3rd year. And this is the first time that I've sat out here and talked about an issue that each of us, rightly so, may have a different opinion on. But I am so proud that the way that this was handled by you, Madam Chair, and you, members of this council, that I'm just happy about it, and it's just amazing. So I'm going to close on this. As I close on this important issue facing residents of Fire District 4, as of right now, I added that in for you, TJ. I'd like to thank you for your questions, concerns, and healthy debate. I also like to reinforce that Fire District 4 encompasses areas from 4 council districts. It's an issue that is specific to residents of District 4. This issue, for me, is simple. we must be able to provide reliable fire and emergency medical responses to all residents in all council districts and all fire districts. As residents passing through the jurisdiction of Fire District 4, it's very important that they, if they have an accident, that they have a reliable service also. This is a safety issue, and all of us at this dais is here because safety of our constituents is of primary importance to us, and the residents of our district demand and deserve it. We are not voting tonight to implement a parcel fee, but allowing the voters to vote on the parcel fee themselves, and to give our residents the chance to make their own choice about the safety and response they deem acceptable and themselves and their family. I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate everything you do, and I appreciate the discussion today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lorino. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hesitate to say this, Chief, but it's going to take me less than a minute.
Does somebody have a stopwatch?
See, Chief, you don't understand why they're all laughing. I'm long-winded. Okay. It's, anyway, I got to hurry. Chief, first of all, obviously, as Mr. Lorino just said, my vote is to allow the people to see it on a ballot, okay? But I didn't finish what I was going to say when I was saying about parcel fee. What I do want to say, noticing that you're on the lake, okay, and I'm sure there was some flooding with Katrina back at the time. The parcel fee that I like is in the $30 range for that emergency money, okay? Should we have another event, God forbid. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
We have Mr. Teledano in the queue, and then we will most certainly move to vote. Mr. Teledano.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I'm going to move for the adoption of Resolution Number C-4979.
We have a second by Mr. Groby. Seeing no other council member in the queue, please vote. Chief Moore, thank you for your time and your presentation and the service that you give to our parish and your men and women.
And I have to personally thank each and every one of you for giving me the time and having the patience to work with me to get through this process. Thank you.
Motion passes 12 yeas, 2 nays, no one absent.
Moving to the next item. Item number 2, Resolution CS number C-4980, a resolution granting the approval to Fire District number 4 to call and hold an election to authorize the renewal and levy a collection of 25 mills and the renewal of the levy and collection of one mill. We have a motion by Ms. O'Brien, a second by Mr. Lorino. Mr. Teledano, I see that you're in the queue. I assume that there's no further discussion. All right. Seeing no other council member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay. We are now on item number 3, Resolution C-S number C-4981. Or was this one? Hold on, let me go back to. I think we've got that.
7.
Oh, we jumped, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we have. Okay, we have, let's go to item number 7. Okay, we pulled, I'm sorry, oh, that's, wait. Okay, we have, Mr. Bell, this is item number 7, resolution CS number C-4985, a resolution to acknowledge the authority of parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with Slidell. Mr. Belisario has moved. Is there a second? Mr. Stefanczyk has seconded. I see that Mr. Bender is in the queue. Would you like to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I just have a clarification on one thing. Madam President.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
My understanding is that, and I'm in support of it, this is not dictating at this present time the path that would be decided eventually.
That is correct. The city of Slidell will determine the path that will be used. The
Thank you very
alignment.
much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So we have our first, our second. There's no other person in, council member in the queue. No further discussion. Please vote. I'm trying to get on the water districts. I would like, we have one. Okay. That's all. Okay.
Mr. Toledano? Mr. Daniel left. Ms. O'Brien. All right, motion is unanimous, 3 absent.
Okay, hold on. 3. Okay. All right, we have a number of resolutions. This brings us, we just did resolution item number, it was item number 7, C-4985. We're now at item number 8, resolution CS number 4, C-4986. We have 2 cards that are on 4993. I think that we could handle all of these together. It would be my recommendation that we essentially ask the audience, the 2 members that have asked to speak, to come and speak on 4993, and then we make a motion to move all these items to the next, postpone to the next hearing, to allow time for us to review these reports. Okay, so, all right, I have two cards, so do I need to go out of order and call it? They're both on 4993. So should we just call that one up? Okay, so we'll go to item number 15, resolution CS number 4993. It looks like I have a Neil Wagaspak and a Chuck, I'm sorry, I can't read, LaMarche. Are they still in the audience? Okay. Whichever one you have 3 minutes if you'd like to come to the podium and speak.
Hi, I'm Chuck LaMarche. I represent here tonight the homeowners in my subdivision, Crossgates. I am the president of the Homeowners Association and want to make sure the water, which is the basic necessity for all living creatures to survive, is safe to drink and the sewage does not end up in our streets, yards, and homes. Fox News and WWL have documented several cases on the sewage backing up into our homes in Crossgates since 2015. I would like to have these handouts given to the council people so that they can look these over while I'm doing this. I would like you to read a very sad and completely disgusting case of intimidation by Tammany Utilities by the words of a widow that had been suffered the wrath of Greg Gordon, which is in handout number 1. She had multiple sewer discharges in her home. Then Tim Brown used Pat Brister's letterhead and threatened and intimidated 27 more people dated July 17, 2017. See handout number 2. They claim residents were taking the cap off the sewer cleanouts in their yards to drain flooded yards. Most of these people don't even know what this cap is or knew it would drain their yard. If the floodwaters were so high that the lift stations were overwhelmed and these caps had to be supposedly removed, the water would have had to be a few feet high in the yards. That means that we would have had a Katrina-like event for water to be that high in the yards. Some of these cleanouts stand 2 feet high. The second physics lessons would be that the sewer lines, if they were so overwhelmed and under tremendous pressure, if the caps were actually taken off, the water would have actually pushed its way back out into the yard, not the other way around. This has been explained to us by people who move water every day. that it would be impossible for water to move this way that Tim Brown describes in these letters. Thus, it did not happen the way Tim Brown had stated in these letters. Tammany Utilities East claimed they did a smoke test and showed these sewer pipes leaked smoke, but there were several witnesses who will sign affidavits to show no smoke was seen anywhere. This test was performed on June 14, 2017, according to TU East's records, which is the same date, by the way, that they reported a sewer leak incident that is also recorded in there. Please see handout number 3. Also see the emails that are attached for an explanation that they knew there was a problem with the way the sewer lines moved water incorrectly. In the DEQ single point of contact report as filed by Tammany Utilities, the report states that the discharge specifically began on June 14, 2017 at 1 p.m. and ended at 2:30 p.m. and approximately 1,000 gallons of sewage overflowed. In the written SPOC excuse given to DEQ was sewer overflow at manholes due to residents removing cleanout caps to drain stormwater from the yards during heavy rain event. Found 15 open cleanout drainage yards to the sewer system. This overloaded the system. Yet in the letter sent to the residents, it clearly stated that on June 14, 2017, Tammany Utilities smoke tested this system. All of this information is wrong, and according to the Slidell office of the National Weather Service, it did not rain on June the 13th, 14th, or 15th, and it only rained 0.22 inches on the 16th, 2017. I'd like to continue if possible.
We'll give you 1 more minute.
You can't smoke test a sewer line that's full, and quite frankly, this means that the utility lied both to the public and the DEQ. This neighborhood has been fighting for safe water, being inundated by, and also having sewage in their yards and homes for years. They have tried and exhausted over fighting for what answers why Tammany Utilities East can continue to produce poor results with uncertified people who are not trained to operate water treatment systems or sewage water waste collection. See handout number 4. My team of investigators have uncovered many contradicting facts, misleading statements, and flat-out lies, cover-ups, and sensitive reports. Because of time constraints here this evening, I cannot read these reports and show the evidence of the statement I just made, but will be more than happy to share this evidence we have uncovered with any member of this council who wants to know the truth. The reason I've brought this up to your attention is you would have had to sign off on this spillage report from Tammany Utilities for 2017, which it showed that there were only 3 spills in the entire year of 2017. We had 4 spills on April 14, 2018. Do you really think we only had 3 spills in the entire year of 2017? And that's why I'm standing here, because I believe the reporting from them is incorrect, and we need help.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time tonight. We have Neil Wagasback. That's a different timer.
I'm here tonight to represent the homeowners in my subdivision, Turtle Creek. Our sewage and water problems extend to the residents in the Landings, New Cross Gates, Willowwood, Old Cross Gates, the Bluffs, Autumn Lake, Honey Island School, and Cypress Cove School in East Slidell on the east side of St. Tammany Parish. There was a sewer discharge that occurred on December 28, 2017. Raw sewage was left unaddressed by Tammany Utilities East for weeks and occurred right outside of the Turtle Creek subdivision in front of Honey Island Elementary. The discharge jeopardized the safety of the faculty and students at the school because they had classes a number of days while the raw sewage sat in front of the school building unaddressed by Tammany Utilities. Recently, April 14th, I became involved in a growing number of sewer problems we're having in Turtle Creek. On April 14th alone, I made several reports with regard to raw sewage coming out of the manholes under pressure and draining into the drainage collection system, ultimately headed out to the Pearl. I later found out that the station causing the problems on April 14th was the East Essex lift station in Old Cross Gates, and that the issues of the station were well known and documented by Mr. Gordon. It is unclear how long Mr. Gordon has been aware of the true nature of the problem. The problem is that 4 to 5 lift stations that collect Turtle Creek and East Military Road all daisy-chained together and feed this East Essex station before heading to another lift station, Herwig Bluff, and then ultimately the treatment plant. The force main connecting this East Essex station to Herwig Bluff is a 4-inch diameter force main and severely undersized, has been for some time now. The poor residents around East Essex Station have had sewer dumped on them for quite some time. This has been going on for so long, uncorrected, that the residents around this lift station refuse to pay their HOA dues because they live in a sewer dump. I'm going to leave the sewer issues we're experiencing, but to say that in my opinion, the sewer issues discussed tonight by Mr. LaMarche and myself were in no way indicative of the facts presented in the MWPP before the council for approval tonight. It's since been pulled, but the problems we face as a result of Tammany Utilities share one common thread, that Tammany Utilities East lacks qualified personnel, supervision, and certification or licensure to properly sanitize and supply safe drinking water and to collect and treat wastewater or sewer. For the same reasons above, I filed a complaint with LDH concerning Tammany Utilities East's lack of operator qualifications and certifications. The local operator, Mr. Richard Glenn Dodro, does not possess the required certifications to effect treatment and sanitation of the Tammany Utilities East water distribution, production, or treatment system. None of the staff shown on these org charts that I've just presented to the council possess the appropriate drinking water production and treatment licenses. The same operating staff for Tammany Utilities East is also void of the appropriate wastewater sewer collection certifications that would qualify them to collect.
We'll give you 1 more minute to do a conclusion.
To collect, repair, or maintain Tammany Utilities East wastewater collection assets. This lack of licensure on the wastewater side is clearly demonstrated in the failures brought forth to the council by myself and Mr. LaMarche. Our point to note, our so-called designated operator, Mr. Aaron Davis, who has allegedly been integral to our plant, somehow never appears on any of the Tammany Utilities East org charts in said capacity. You'll note the 3rd page, Mr. Aaron Davis appears on the Tammany Utilities West org chart provided as a maintenance specialist 4. My request to Mr. Gordon, Mr. Brown, and Councilman Belisario previously to have a meeting with Mr. Davis was denied and failed to receive any acknowledgement by the administration. Coupled with the wastewater and sewage problems, there are also safety and health issues associated with water production. Ultimately, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to cut things short. My involvement in all of the issues surrounding Tammany Utilities East has taught me one very valuable lesson. Each and every resident I've had the pleasure of speaking with seems to blame Ms. Brister and the administration for the events that have been allowed to transpire uncorrected.
Thank you, sir. I see that Mr. Belisario, you're in the queue. Before we go to you, and we have a motion, I would recommend that a motion be made to postpone item number 8, resolution CS number C-4986, item number 9, resolution CS number C-4987, item number 10, resolution CS number C-4988, item number 11, resolution CS number C-4989, item 12, resolution CS number C-4990, item number 13, resolution CS number C-4991, item 14, resolution CS number C-4992, item 15, resolution CS number C-4993, and item number 16, resolution CS number C-4994. We have a motion by Mr. Groby, a second by Mr. Belisario. Normally, I mean, I'll let you have a comment, Mr. Belisario. Normally, the motion before us is a postponement, but I'll go ahead and give you the floor. Can you? All right. Okay. You should be.
No mic yet. Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I have been dealing with this problem when I was Crossgates HOA president in 2007. So this is nothing new to me. Things went well after that particular incident dealt with a widow that Mr. LaMarche spoke about. Problem is in resurfaced in 2014 up through this year. There are a myriad number of issues. I got involved in the MWPP because I wanted to learn this report and understand the report. I met with Ms. Gina last Wednesday, and then on Tuesday I met with Gina and Greg Gordon to go over the report, and we agreed to make changes in the report, and I got a change to that report yesterday, reviewed it late last night, and there's issues I have told Greg I want to go over. As he describes to me, this is a state report, but he's telling me, which is that this is the user supports this report,
to LDEQ. It's really for internal reporting purposes. The public doesn't know that. There's nowhere on the report that goes in that shows that. And I think there's what I'm seeing based on yesterday. Greg and two of his personnel took myself, Steve Leach, who's back here, and another gentleman named Tom Johnson. We took a very productive 2.5-hour tour yesterday looking at lift stations. I saw some where money has been spent. They've turned around. They are in much better operation. I've seen some, East Essex, that Mr. Wagasback talked about. I put forth an idea. That's going to be expensive, but I think it needs to be done. The East Essex lift station was put in 1977. It doesn't even have a door. It's a rectangular window. You have to climb inside of it. The only door was on the other side of it, which is for CLECO equipment. I believe the staff has difficulty working with that. It's an undersized lift station that over time, as more development took into the area, I found out recently that there were 4 lift stations leading to that. And the output to take it to Herwig Bluff is only a 4-inch line, but Greg educated me on yesterday that there's really 5 lift stations out of Turtle Creek going to East Essex. I brought up yesterday as a part of the discussion with talking to one of the neighbors who's been dealing with this since 1984, that we look at relocating that lift station. There is some land that's open. I've been advised it's parish-owned property going way back to when Miramon developed those early phases of cross gates. I think we need to look at that or make some really significant changes to the East Essex lift station, or take lines and direct those 4 or 5 lift stations at Turtle Creek to the waste treatment facility rather than through East Essex. I've talked to people there. They're just tired. They're exasperated with the stress that they've lived with. And it's how it was designed. The gentleman who was sitting over here before talking about the fire district, what he described is what has happened to Crossgates, Turtle, all of those with the development. The stations that were built are not large enough, and the equipment was dated. Greg was very open and transparent yesterday about each lift station. Steve can corroborate that. We went through, I believe, 10 lift stations. Progress is being made, but we're not where we need to be. We're looking at capital infusion. We have to look at, right now, this year, Gina and Pat have put money together to look at redesigning a new waste treatment plant to replace the one that was licensed in 1977. And sometime this year, they're going to get that finished, and then, as Gina said, then we need to find the money to fix that waste treatment plant. And the more and more I think about this, we have work groups and committees for different things, and for years, we have never had one for the utility company. I'm proposing tonight as a part of this that we need to form a work group of council members, because we don't really get involved in this until we get these reports. And most of us look at the reports, we don't have the background or the education or the work experience to fully understand them. And I think it behooves us to go to a more proactive position and form a work group and work with the administration, with Tammany Utilities, to better understand what's going on. Because I've been getting untold number of questions, texts, you name it, I get it. I've got an activist area. I was one of the people who created the activist in the area, so I'm paying for that, and I accept that. We have got to fix this problem. And the money has not been spent. If you go back in time, the East Essex and the one that's at the intersection of Silverwood and Goldenwood, Greg showed me that one. He said this is on the list to be fixed. He's dissatisfied with, his staff was dissatisfied with it. Steve and I were just looking at it. It's like, this is an operating lift station? If anybody had that near to their house, they would have walked away. It's what we got when we bought the utility company. And now it's come the time that we have to pay the price and fix that and turn things around. I feel I have to make this statement because I firmly believe we have got to set up this utility work group to learn more and work with the administration on all of TU East and West. This is not a localized issue just with the East. If you look at the resolution we're going to approve, the very last one, you'll see a list of items for the western side of the parish that goes on and on and on. Greg and his staff, once they've consolidated with Gina's assistance, to allow individuals to work across the parish rather than in one designated area is working for us. The two gentlemen who were with us yesterday were really Tammany Utilities West, and they are learning our area and learning the equipment and seeing the problems. So I think, to me, the only conclusion we have is we have got to find out and have a better understanding as a council of what goes into the MWPP report so it makes sense. I do not accept a number of spills. I looked at 4 years' worth of reports. There are no spills designated for 14, 15, and 16, and I know damn well there were spills. I was there when some of those happened. I watched one in October of 17 at my church picnic. I drove my car to position myself so I could watch what was coming out of a sewer manhole. So I've seen some that are not documented, and we have to determine what is a documented spill? What is a reportable spill? The way they were telling me yesterday is a documented spill was really what comes out from a lift station and not a sewer manhole. We've got issues with sewer manholes throughout Tammany Utilities East. And to me, that's a spill. That's that waste coming out of those, and it's on people's yards, and that's the one that got me going strong on December the 28th when I found out that through 2 phone calls as I'm in Houston, Texas, watching my grandchildren, and I find out from 2 people about the spill. Greg and his people came out the next day and had to clean it up. There was a significant cleanup with that. The key was that wasn't reported, and that supervisor should have reported it, and it didn't happen. And we've got to fix this problem. That's all there is to it. We can't blame it on anybody. We are the parish government. It's our job to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bellisario. Mr. Groby, I see that you're also in the queue. I'll remind you that the motion before us is a motion to postpone. I know that you'd like to make a few comments. If you could please keep it brief. This will come up next month, as you know. I'm gonna give you. Thank you.
Thank you. A lot of initials and stuff have been thrown around, and I want to take a quick moment to educate some council members, as well as the viewing public, as well as the audience. The MWPP stands for the Municipal Wastewater Pollution Prevention Plan. It is a document that is given to the council under law that we have to pass a resolution saying that we've read it, we understand it, we agree with it. And that report is supposed to show us the operational, the age, how the system is responding, what kind of overflows they had. I met with Gene at his home last week with some of the homeowners to go over some of these reports. And in the meantime, the 2015 report, which this council passed, and I voted for it because I had no reason to doubt the facts in it, there were 3 spills in 2015 that are documented at DEQ that are not in the report. And I can educate the council in this. I can tell you, because I fill these reports out for St. Bernard. I have 2 on my desk right now. My council adopted them this month. I can tell you they're accurate. The other issue is that the reports that we read and we send to the council, we are attesting to they're accurate. And that makes a determination as to how the system runs. The other problem that I have with the system is that, as we know, we had a problem in Paul Hollis's district just up the street. We have a problem in Jane's. And the problem is the definition of an overflow. I can tell you this. I have the definition in my permit. If we look at our permits for all of these plants, it's going to say that. An overflow or a bypass is any time untreated wastewater leaves the collection system, whether it's through a pump station a manhole or any other way, like a broken force main that happened on 505 Tanager that broke for 4 years until I got involved and we got it fixed. Greg knows what I'm talking about. The utility company just simply ignored it, and they took the light bulb out of the warning and they taped over the buzzer at that lift station. I was livid about that. We got it fixed. It took a few calls. First, I called DEQ to report it. Then I called Greg Gordon to have him help me figure out who owns it. These reports are supposed to be dead accurate. It tells us how our system is supposed to be operating, how we're supposed to be doing. And the council may not understand this, but these reports have to be accurate. And I know that there's mistakes in 2015, and the rest of these, I haven't had a chance to go through them yet. I'm trying to go through my districts right now. But if the administration or the environmental department truly believe that they are not supposed to report manhole overflows, 100% inaccurate. I'm sorry, it's in the permit. You have, if water leaves that system, it is a leak, a bypass, or a spill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gerby. Mr. Bender.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comment is going to be brief, and I hope that this is a helpful comment, okay? I'm not going to point fingers. What I am going to say is the truth. I happen to get involved in this because of when Gene's sister died, and Don will remember this, and he had to go up to West Virginia to handle the estate. I said to Don, look, instead of bothering Gene, if something happens to come up in his district, let me know. I'll try my best, okay? Wow. That's when one of these occurred. Here's all I want to say. What we have to realize in parish government, and I'm telling you, if there's anybody in the loop on this thing who is still trying to get the public to believe that it is not Tammany Utilities East's fault, they're wrong. We have a tremendous lack of credibility in Tammany Utilities East and in the subdivisions that use it. I have 6 grandchildren that live in 2 different council districts that use this. I've got photos of one of the girls with chlorine burns all over her leg. We haven't even gotten to water yet. We haven't even talked about water and the chlorine being way too high or 0 or just right. This is unacceptable. It's been 4 years, and I'm just saying it the way it is. We have a credibility problem, and if the people involved can't solve the credibility problem, we need to get somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bender. So we have the motion. There's no other council member in the queue. So the motion is to postpone. Mr. Belisario. Wait, hold on. I haven't given you the mic yet. We're on the motion to postpone. Y'all all do realize we're going to go into a work group. We're going to look at these reports, okay? And we're going to come back next month. So we don't have to say everything tonight, I promise you. And I think you've said quite a bit. So are you sure you still want to remain in the queue? Well, I got Mr. Bender. Mr. Belisario has backed out of the queue. Okay, so with that.
I'm done. Okay.
All right. Is that okay, Mr. Belisario? Will you be able to sleep tonight without saying one more word? Okay. I appreciate that. And I know you're going to work with us. If you'd like to be on that work group, please contact Don. All right. Mr. Stefanczyk. All of them.
Is the motion to postpone for 1 month only?
Yes, to the next month.
Thank you.
Okay. With that being said, no other person in the queue to speak. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Okay. We are now on item number 19, I believe. That is Resolution CS number C-4997. Mr. Tanner, hold on, I believe you have a motion.
Number 19.
19, I move for adoption.
Okay, we have a second on that. Seeing no council member in the queue to speak, please vote.
Mr. Britton, thank you. Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay. The next item is item number 20, Resolution CS number C-4998, a resolution to amend ordinance CS number 18-3881 and the 2018 grant budget. We have a motion by Mr. Tanner. We have a second by Mr. Teledano. Seeing no council member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous.
Jean is a yes. Please.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
Okay, that brings us to item number 21, Resolution CS number C-4999, a resolution to acknowledge the authority of the parish president to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the parish school board. Mr. Tanner. We have a motion from Mr. Tanner, a second from Mr. Thompson. Seeing no council member in the queue, no further discussion, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 2 absent.
We passed over one? Which one? No. No, there wasn't one on those. No, I took care of that one issue. Yeah. Okay. All right, we move on. We're now on ordinances we have an appeal. Yes. Oh, the night. Okay. Item number 1, Raymond J. Frey appealing the zoning commission denial of the April 3rd, 2018 to rezone 42,700 square feet located west of Hoover Drive, north of Highway 190 East, and from A-4 single-family residential district to A-5 two-family residential district. This is in District 13. We have essentially on one side, we have Paul Brooks. The person seeking the appeal is Mr. Raymond. You are given the time period for appeals? 10 minutes. So you will have 10 minutes, and you share that with Elizabeth P., I think it's Peck. And so however y'all decide to divide that time, you're welcome to do so. Okay?
That's fine. Thank you. I am Raymond Fry. I have 2 lots on Hoover, lot number 60, 61. The reason I went initially to the zoning board is this vacant lots are located next to a 26-unit apartment complex. I was going to had intent for our family member to build a single. After talking to many people, building a single dwelling next to a 26-unit apartment complex, and this unit is in very poor condition, was not a good thing to be doing. It was suggested to me that I should consider the zoning and step down from the 26 units to possibly a double and move on to a single. But a single next to a 26 unit had no market value at all. So indeed, that was my motivation to come forward. At the zoning presentation, it was split. Several of the people on the board did agree with me. They're very familiar with Hoover Street, a lot of vacant land. Any new construction would be an uplift for the whole subdivision, so some saw positive in it. After that point, I was encouraged to come to the appeals because of folks feeling that it would be a positive thing. I'm not doing it to bring the neighborhood down. I feel that it would be an uplift in the subdivision. Indeed, I did invite a local real estate person to help support me in this. I came by myself in front of the zoning board, and I've never experienced this before, so I'm hoping someone else would help share the good news. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Liz.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
After this 10 minutes,
Good evening.
Yeah.
As Mr. Fry said, my name's Elizabeth Peak. I'm a realtor in Louisiana. I've been licensed for several years, helping everyone on the, mainly St. Tammany Parish, with all of their buying, selling, leasing, building needs. But before that, I was doing my own buy, selling, leasing, and building in St. Tammany when I moved to Slidell 25 years ago. I have gone down Hoover Drive since I went to school at North Shore High years and years and years ago, and then my daughter goes there. So we've seen the evolution of this street. And it's been really nice lately to see finally some new construction in the area. It's really brought that neighborhood a little bit brighter. There's still a lot of other properties on that street that have just continued to disintegrate and deteriorate and bring down the neighborhood. And it's a shame because it's a bit of a cut through. In real estate, we're taught three main principles when it comes to buying and selling property, and that's location, price, and condition. We can't do anything about location, so we have to make up for it in other ways, and vice versa. So when we're talking about the second principle now is price. A lot of these lots have stood empty for years, and it's going to get to a point where they're just going to lower and lower and lower the price. A lot of these properties have sat on that street and the neighboring street for longer than the average days on market, and that price continues to lower. That brings down the whole area. What we would like to propose and ask permission for is to build a duplex, not a double. So it'll be in keeping with the area on these oversized lots. It's significantly larger than the average build site, which is a 50 by 120 in our town at this time. And in that, we'll have some more new construction brought to the area, keeping it nice and light and bright, and hopefully will persuade the other residents that this was a positive. And thank you. That's all I have for you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Raymond, you do have additional time if you'd like to make any additional comment.
I just would like to make note that they do have other multi-unit. We're not trying to put a duplex in a all-single development. There's several. Matter of fact, catty-corner to this property, there's one up for lease right now today. So it is very mixed, 26 units, duplex, singles. On the corner of Fremo and Hoover, there's actually a house trailer. So any new construction will definitely be an uplift to the area if you're familiar with it. So quite a bit of undeveloped property there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Our next person, we have Paul Brooks, if you'd come up, sir. And you're the only person that's turned in a card on your time. You have 10 minutes.
Basically, she's saying the property values are going down, but they're not. The property values are going up in the area. It's because the property has not been developed. They have some of the properties that it's kind of, the grass is kind of growing up. And they have several deceased right across from the apartment. They had two. The husband and wife passed away, and that's probably code enforcement's going to probably have to get in there and search for the new owners. I guess it'd probably be the kid, the children. But we strongly oppose duplexes. They had duplexes they built years ago. That's why we zoned this, because we didn't want duplexes. We didn't want that apartment. That was pushed up on us. We didn't want it. I have a petition right here of the neighbors. We just don't want this, because it's going to basically bring our property values down. The house next door to what he's going to build next to, it's going to just tear his property values down. I live next to him, and it's going to devastate mine. I put my life savings right there, And, I mean, this road's developing. People are building houses on two properties now. It's going to be a lot more density in there. We got school, we got traffic, got school buses coming down the street. We got people bringing their kids to school, and people, the traffic backs up past my property. I can't hardly get out of the driveway right now. And it's just going to make things worse. Plus, he said they got 6 units being rented. That property had been, I think it probably has been sold, and that might be renovated. So that's gonna bring more density. That's gonna bring more, this place, you know, they have 28 units, or whatever units they have over there, they all be all rented out. Plus, he's gonna build duplexes, that's gonna give encouragement to other duplexes to be built. You know, we don't want duplex alley down there. You know, I mean, the zoning, that's why I built my house, because it had A4, you know, single family. And y'all gonna change all the zoning, you know, just because he made a bad deal? This property was sold before he bought it for $30,000. He came and paid he said he paid $53,000 for it, made a bad deal. He should have researched it before he bought it. And he is not going to improve the neighborhood with a duplex, because they have duplexes down the street, they can't even hardly rent them out. You know, and some renovated ones because of the traffic problems on the street. You know, it's not a place to really, it's just a lot of traffic, you know. And they're not, basically, we don't have no red light at Highway 90, and it's congestion. So I don't know who, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. It's 3 and 3. Rebuttal time's 3 and 3. Okay. Now you have rebuttal time. Essentially, each one of you have 3 minutes if you feel that there's something more that you would like to tell the council.
Just the fact that I don't know who signed these papers, obviously. I'm not doing this to cause hardship. I'm not doing it on a negative note. What I paid or didn't pay is insignificant. I didn't pay that amount. But the point is that I do own the property. There's duplexes in the area. It's next to a 26-unit apartment complex. I feel that it's an uplift and not a negative thing. I would not do anything negative to the neighbors. I don't know them. I wouldn't want to hurt them. I have no reason to do that. I do think it's a positive thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. Mr. Paul, would you like to say anything further?
Yeah, we all feel that it's going to be a negative impact, no matter what he says. It was a bad deal. He made a bad deal, and he's going to make neighbors pay for it. And we don't want an extension of K-Terra Apartments.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. I'm going to relinquish the chair to Mr. Lorino, as this is my council district. Mr. Raymond, I'm happy to hear that you want to do positive things to that particular road. I drive it probably every other day. It is a cut through. I just, we've had traffic studies that we're trying to put in place that ultimately will look from North Shore, we hope, to the town center and resolve some of those traffic issues. But unfortunately, it pushes a lot of traffic down Hoover. I have driven down this property. I asked Mr. Belisario, who is near my district, to also drive down it and tell me what he thinks about it. My concern is, I know the apartment complex is there, and I wished, as much as Mr. Paul, it wasn't there, because I see a lot of homes that they're single-family residents, and some of them are modest. But there are also, to the left of you, at least 5 to 6 that I count very nice homes, that somebody has recently put a significant amount of value into those homes. And I don't think that they did so with the intent that a duplex would be coming next door to them, despite that the apartment complex was there. You did acquire the property knowing it was single-family residence, and I'm afraid I cannot support duplexes going in there despite the apartment complex, because I know of the neighbors. And we work this street quite often, the blighted property, since I've been on the council, and it is coming back. And so I at this point in time, just can't support the duplexes, because I do want to see the single-family residents continue to prosper. And I would hope that you'd consider building nice single-family residents to go with the other 5 or 6 that are to the left of that property. And so I don't know if anybody else, we have Mr. Groby, or, go ahead, Mr.
I'll give it back. Mr. Grovey?
Yeah.
I had a question for Mr. Fry. If you step up to the podium.
You finished with these, man?
Yes.
Are you building one duplex on both lots or two duplexes on each lot?
And maybe that was a mistake that I've done. I combined this lot 60, 61, and it's in my mind. Indeed, if I do put a duplex right next to the complex and then go with a single and to downstep it, and that would definitely, I could appreciate that.
Are you going to live there?
No, sir, I will not be willing. I purchased it originally for my daughter, and since all this has occurred, I was able to buy our house off of Brown Switch.
So none of your family is going to live there if this, all right, thank you.
No.
Mr. Balisara?
I'd like to make a motion to sustain the zoning commission's decision.
Motion by Mr. Balisara, second by Mr. Canulet. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Here, can you that? What, oh, and we need a resolution?
I need a motion for a resolution. Mr. Canulet, second by Mr. Balisara. Please vote.
I don't know how you want to, I'll put you back on.
Resolution, motion for resolution.
Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Thank y'all for coming out tonight. All right. We are, for ordinances for adoption, we're now, item number 1, ordinance calendar number 5952, ordinance to amend the parish code regarding simple cruelty to animals, minimum care standards relative to extreme weather conditions. Mr. Tanner.
Yes, I'd like to postpone.
I had him on, unless he turned off. Oh, it just might be over.
Maybe I have to put
I'm working with him over here.
I'm learning, slow learning. Look, ordinance number 5952 and 5953, which is 1 and 2. I promise that we're going to be ready to act on those at next month's meeting, so I'd like to postpone them to next month.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Ms. Lorino, second. And so is the motion, you're making it on both ordinance calendar number 5952 and ordinance calendar number 5953 to postpone to next month's meeting. We have a first and a second. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote. I appreciate that, Mr. Tanner. Yeah.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
That now brings us to item number 3, ordinance calendar number 5962, an ordinance authorizing the parish president to accept the act of dedication of donation of Park Place Road. Mr. Teledano.
I'd like to move for the adoption, please.
And a second by Mr. Thompson. Seeing no council member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. Yep. Right. That brings us to item number 4, ordinance calendar number 5963, an ordinance to revoke portions of Christwood Boulevard right-of-way. Mr. Dean.
So moved.
And we have a second by Mr. Thompson. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote. Next one is 11. Steve.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Number 5, ordinance calendar number 5964, an ordinance to revoke portions of Napoleon Avenue right-of-way located in Bayou Liberty Estates subdivision. Mr. Stefanczyk.
Yes, so moved.
Mr. Bellisario has second. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote.
Mr. Stefanczyk? Motion passes, 12 yeas, 1 nay, 1
wait.
absent.
Wait, Mr. Stefanczyk? You want that to be noted as a yes vote, I assume? Okay, so, Madam Clerk, will you please?
The revised motion passes with 1 absent.
I know it's getting late, Steve.
I just wanted to say, this is the guy that donated this land to us for a school bus turnaround about 15 years ago, and it's been used for that, and now they no longer use it for that. And he would like to have his property back that he donated, and I think that's what we're doing. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Thank you, Mr. Stefanczyk. That brings us to item number 6, calendar number 5965, ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include Johns Road Extension and Farrier Estate Road. Mr. Groby.
So moved.
We have a second by Mr. Lorino. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote. Oh, sorry, Teresa.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay. Item number 7, ordinance calendar number 5966, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to purchase certain servitudes and right-of-ways for the benefit of Three Rivers Road Drainage Lateral Project.
Move
Mr.
for the
Toledano.
adoption. Motion to adopt.
And then we have a second by Mr. Thompson. Seeing no other member in the queue for discussion, please vote.
This is the last part of the Three Rivers project.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Okay, that brings us to item number 8, ordinance calendar number 5967, ordinance to authorize the parish president to acquire by donation a certain parcel along Little Bayou Castine. Mr. Groby.
So moved.
And we have a second by Mr. Lorino, I'm sorry. No further council members in the queue, please vote.
Mr. Bender, thank you. Motion is unanimous, no one absent.
Item number 9, ordinance calendar number 5968, an ordinance to authorize the parish president to amend an existing conservation servitude. Mr. Dean, hold on, I gotta, so moved.
Yes, ma'am.
And seconded by Mr. Thompson. Seeing no other member in the queue for discussion, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
All right, we are on item number 10, ordinance calendar number 5969, ordinance to grant certain temporary construction servitudes.
Move for the adoption.
Okay, Mr. Toledano. And we have a second by Mr. Tanner. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote. Sorry, I got it. This one.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
I'm going to put you down. All right, item number 11, ordinance count number 5970, an ordinance to declare multiple tax adjudicated properties as surplus property. Motion by Mr. Lorino and a second by Mr. Canulet. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, 1 absent.
Item number 12, calendar number 5971, ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 7,500 square feet from A4-A4 and MHO, Ward 8, District 9. So moved by Mr. Bellisario, second by Mr. Canulet. Seeing no other member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 13, ordinance calendar number 5972, an ordinance amending the official parish zoning map to reclassify 0.067 acres from A-1A and RO to A-1A, RO, and MHO. Moved by Mr. Tanner, or Councilman Tanner, seconded by Mr. Lorino. No other member is in the queue for discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 14, ordinance calendar number 5973, an ordinance to correct the road and drainage inventory to include R. Singletary Road lateral, District 6. Motion by Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Thompson. No other member is in the queue for discussion. Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 15, ordinance calendar number 5974, an ordinance to amend ordinance CS number 17-3673, the 2017 grant budget. Mr. Tanner. Moved by Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Lorino. Seeing no further discussion, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 16, ordinance calendar number 5975, an ordinance to amend the 2018 operating budget, amendment number 3. Moved by Mr. Tanner, second by Mr. Bellisario. Seeing no further discussion, please vote.
Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, I pushed the button before you got a chance to vote. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Please note Mr. Smith was a yes vote. Okay, that brings us to items off of the floor for May 3rd, 2017. We need a unanimous vote to open this matter for off the floor.
Madam Chairman, that's the
Yeah.
resolution. Item number 1, I would move that matter be allowed to come off the floor.
But we have to have the motion to. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Please vote to allow.
To take all of them or one of them?
We're going to do all. You want to do it one by one? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. We're just opening the floor, and then I'll go down and ask if there's anything additional.
I want to get it over with.
Okay, that's what, I'm with you, Mr. Tanner. Okay. All right, so we have our motion, our second? Okay, so please vote. Must be a unanimous vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Okay. All right, so, hold on. Mr. Dean, is there any other item you'd like to add?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
No.
Mr. Thompson? Mr. Teledano?
No, thank you.
Mr. Tanner?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Lorino?
No.
Mr. Groby? Mr. Canulet?
No.
Mr. Bellisario?
No.
Ms. O'Brien?
No, thank you.
Mr. Stefanczyk?
No.
Mr. Bender?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Smith?
None.
We can almost make it to dinner.
All right. We are starting with Mr. Teledano, I believe. It's item number 1, a resolution to vacate in part 6-month moratorium on property within a defined area north of North Street, south of Harrison Avenue, west of Raven Street, and east of, is that Eek Street? And Fuchsia Street.
Fuchsia Street. Move for the adoption, please.
And we had a second from Mr. Lorino. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 2, a resolution to authorize government to prepare and submit a pre-application to the statewide flood control program. Mr. Thompson. And we have a second by Mr. Tanner. Seeing no other council member in the queue, please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 3, a resolution to vacate in part the 6-month moratorium on property south of Interstate 12, north of Highway 190, west of Highway 11, and east of the precinct S19 boundary line. Mr. Smith.
Move.
And a second by Mr. Bellisario. Seeing no further discussion, Please vote.
Motion is unanimous, one absent.
Item number 4, a resolution to vacate in part the 6-month moratorium on property south of Interstate 12, north of Highway 190, west of Highway 11, and east of Precinct S19 boundary line. Mr. Smith. So moved by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Bender. Seeing no further discussion, please vote. Mr. Bender's pencil was much higher. I didn't catch it the first time, I'm sorry.
Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Toledano. Motion is unanimous, one absent.
I'd like to thank each and every one of you tonight. I know that we went through a whole lot of work, and I think that we made very good decisions tonight. And so thank you all for your time, efforts, and energy that you put into the discussions. We need a motion to adjourn, please. And we have a second? Second. By Mr. Canulet. Good night and drive safe.